Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So I have had a ton of requests to talk to somebody who has actually taken the new and enhanced TOEFL test. So I've invited my old friend and experienced TOEFL teacher, Han Joon Lee, to talk about his experience taking the enhanced TOEFL test on day one. Welcome to the channel.
Oh, hey, Michael, thanks for having me.
Okay, so I think we'll kind of just keep this casual. I've got a few questions I want to run through related to your experience taking the test. But first of all, like briefly speaking, can you summarize like your overall impressions of this new, like shorter TOEFL? What do you think of it, generally speaking?
That's a very broad question, I guess, but I think I like this one better than the previous one, besides the fact that it didn't give any break time.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else about it was pretty decent, I think.
So you're like overall, then you're enthusiastic about the test being shorter and kind of being redesigned a little bit.
Yes, and the payment method is so much better as well.
What do you mean? What's better about the payment method?
Before I had to add my credit card number, and there were some weird programs I had to install, and I had to try like 10 times before finally making a purchase. It just drove me nuts every single time. But now I can just add in my, I don't know, the Kakao or neighbor ID, like whatever platform my country has, and problem solved. Much
Okay,
better.
that's really great. You know, actually, one of like the frequent questions I get from like students, they're like, "Hey, I had some billing problems." So like I'm glad that is a lot easier for you. And if there's anyone watching this who actually does have a billing problem still, I think the general advice still applies. Turn off your ad blocker. If you're using one of the popular ad blockers, that does have a somewhat negative effect on your billing. But yeah, I'm glad that the billing's easier. And I think you probably registered for the test a few weeks ago, right?
Oh, I actually did like, I don't know, a week ago, like 5 days
Okay.
ago. Not sure. I didn't
So
pay the late fee though.
okay, so I guess you didn't see the whole enhanced like registration and like user account. Like that's been totally changed as well. Have you seen that yet?
I think I've seen it, but
Okay.
yeah, they do update the website quite often, I think.
Yeah, have
But
you logged into your TOEFL account since like yesterday?
no, no. Oh, it changed?
Yeah, yeah, actually they've changed it. It actually looks like modern and like contemporary now. So the whole like user account when you go in to check your scores and stuff, that's totally new. And so I
Okay.
guess you haven't logged in since your scores haven't been reported yet, but yeah, do check that out. It's actually quite nice. I think you'll like it.
Nice.
And speaking of like that, one of the things ETS has talked about is how they want the actual test experience to be kind of more modernized, like visually, make it more aesthetically pleasing. Like, because you know how like I haven't taken the new test, but I took the old one like last year, and it really looked like a 2005 sort of thing, like from like when I was in
1990
university.
style.
Yeah, like those
One,
like those lines in those boxes. Like it
yeah.
was just like it looked like something kind of like made with macromedia, as we used to say. Has that been improved?
I think so. Like I used not my normal computer, my laptop. I used my 27-inch huge full screen monitor, and that's why the font was really big for me. It was actually too big, and it was kind of hard to read. But still, I think the font improved, and
Okay.
the interface all turned green for some reason.
Yeah, that's the
The
color.
green.
Yeah, the user account is all green as well.
Oh, okay. So
But
it's okay. Like it's bad.
but it doesn't like I know the user account has like instead of like 90-degree angles, it has like modern sort of like curves, like a contemporary like user interface. I guess like the new test has that as well, I hope.
Yeah, I think so too. Like
Okay,
I
cool.
didn't get much sleep for like 2 months or so because I'm so busy these days. So I don't remember all the details. And like I had some issues with the testing as well. And
Okay,
that's why. Oh yeah.
oh, okay, we're gonna get to those issues in a minute, I think. And I presume that was sort of related to the at-home experience.
Right, it was terrible. Like worst ever.
Okay, we are going to talk about that at length. Um, we will get to that. I want to focus on the changes to the test, but the at-home experience is something that I've written about and made videos about at length. So we will get to that, I promise. One of the big changes is the shorter reading section. So now it's just 2 articles, right? And
Right.
20 questions in total. Now, people are asking, are they different articles? Are they harder articles, different questions, easier, harder? But what were your impression? Are the articles and the questions pretty much the same, just fewer of them? Or did you notice any changes like in the difficulty level?
Again, like for me, like again, it could be because I couldn't concentrate well because I was kind of half asleep, but it felt much difficult than usual. Like both
But
passages were pretty challenging,
okay,
and I actually had to take notes during the reading because I couldn't keep up with some of the logical sequence. Like it was really
okay.
challenging.
So
Because I
it
was
was
like,
pretty challenging. Okay,
even for me, yeah. Like it
that's
was like I
interesting.
took a lot of SAT questions these days. It was
Mhm.
some of them was as challenging as the SAT. Like
Interesting. Okay.
questions themselves are not that hard in most cases,
Uh-huh.
and the passages itself are just a bit hard, I think. So
Okay.
I'm pretty sure a lot of test takers would have kind of flunked the test because of that.
Okay. Interesting that they are a little bit harder. Now, a lot of people are worried that like because there's only 20 questions, one mistake could really hurt them. And even like
Mm.
one like fluky mistake where like maybe, I don't know, it could be A, it could be B, like that sort of mistake. They're kind of worried about that. Is that something like you're kind of concerned with it? That,
Yeah,
you
of
know,
course.
yeah. Is that like now you've also talked to students. Um, is that like a general concern that the students you've talked to have had?
Everyone has a concern, and even I have
Yeah.
that concern.
Now, but I know they had that concern even on like the old TOEFL. Every
Uh-huh.
mistake counts, but is that concern greater than it used to be?
Because like for the old TOEFL, like even if you got one wrong, you still get 30, maybe even two wrongs, you get 30. Not
Mhm.
sure exactly, but I think that was the case before. But now I'm pretty sure like if you get one wrong, maybe you get 30,
Mhm.
probably. You should get a 30, but I'm pretty sure if you get two wrong, it's like 29 or maybe lower. Who knows?
Yeah. Like some people have said that they wish the TOEFL was longer, you know? Like
Mm.
people who really know their stuff have been like, yeah, give me an 8-hour TOEFL. I'll get like every question right and I'll definitely get a good score. Now, I mean, that's a little bit extreme, but you
Yeah,
can see where it's coming from, right?
right. I don't know, the
Okay.
ETS, like they can make more money if people take the test more often. So good for them. Reduce the price, please. Anyhow.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, the writing section. That's where like the biggest changes are. The
Mm.
independent essay is gone and it's replaced with the writing for an academic discussion task. Um, what are your thoughts on that? How do you feel about this new writing section?
I mean, like it looks easy on the surface because
Mhm.
on the surface you need to write 100 words and so on. But if you actually have experiment with the AI, the E-Rater AI,
Mhm.
well, it never gives you a full point for 100. And according to the ETS official, like performance descriptors, they
Mhm.
say anything about 24 as an effective response. So I think they're always saying, oh, 24 is like effective,
Mhm.
right? I'm guessing that you need at least 140 or 160 words to get 30, and you
Mhm.
really need to convince the human raters as well. But we don't exactly know the criteria they use to grade your essays yet. And the rubrics are always vague. They always
Mhm.
make something like, what's the word? Relevant to the
Mhm.
essay and contributes heavily to
Mhm.
these kind of essays.
Yeah.
And again, so no one exactly knows what that means,
Mhm.
like for sure. So I made
Yeah.
sure that I like talk about both points mentioned in the reading. I mean, from the passage, like
Mhm.
the woman and the guy,
Mhm.
and I hope I can score a 30 with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like I guess that's one of like the ongoing sort of debates that TOEFL tutors have had is like how long should the responses be? Now,
I think I wrote like 220 or 240 words, maybe longer.
wow, that's to me that's longer than necessary. Like
I
I've been
know.
telling people, 130 maybe. Like, and if you want like a perfect score, maybe you want to push it like to 140, something like that. But you're saying you wrote like 200 plus.
Right. Just in
Okay.
case, who knows? And a
Yeah.
lot of students that actually pull that off. They can write about 200 words
Mhm.
because like I usually, and not usually, but some of my students need over 117 or 116 in TOEFL,
Mhm.
and it's my job to do whatever it takes to get them to like perfect level writing no matter what happens.
Yeah, we're gonna
And
get to that as well. Those like those really, really high targets.
right,
And like what this is something we've talked about is like even with the independent task, the instructions would say write at least 300 words. Well, and some people would really take that as gospel and they would write
Right.
300 words, no more. But the advice was always, nah, you better write 380, 390, 400. So we'll see how it goes.
Right.
Now, that said, it sounds like you didn't have any issues with timing, but a lot of the people I've talked to, they're like, oh my gosh, it's 10 minutes. I have to read everything and write my response. And that was the case for you. There was just one clock for the reading and the writing.
Right. And it takes quite longer than expected to read the whole thing. For example, for me to read the integrated essay, like I can do it in like 1 minute or so, like a little bit over 1 minute. But for the new version, I'm not sure if like it's because I'm not used to it yet, but it took around the same time. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people are expressing like some concern that, oh, I don't know if I can read everything and still have plenty of time for writing. So like some of the strategies I've talked about are, well, you know, the instructions probably aren't going to change, so you can skim those. And like the student responses, I mean, you don't necessarily, like maybe you don't even need to really refer to those. So maybe you can skim those as well. So there are some strategies that I guess need to be used.
Right, I need to check on that actually, like not mentioning them at all, just writing my own response, but
Yeah.
who knows?
Like in the first videos I put up about that task, I said you should refer to them. I've since changed my mind, and I don't think it's necessary. So we'll see. That's worth experimenting with on test day. Now,
Very
again,
expensive experience.
yeah, it's just I wish we had a way to experiment without paying $220 every time. But maybe something.
I mean,
in the
like the
future.
rubric does say that you have to, provide a relevant and very clearly expressed contribution to the online discussion. And the,
Gee, thanks.
and the score 4 says it just has to be a relevant contribution.
Yeah.
So I tried my best to, very clearly express my contribution, whatever that means.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What is a contribution exactly to the discussion? I mean, a contribution could be as simple as stating an opinion, or it could be interacting with the other two students. It is, I mean, it's not totally clear. So I hope that we have a chance to see more high scoring responses provided by ETS in the future. Now, one of the other things people are talking about is that they don't exactly maybe feel great about the idea that this one paragraph is worth 50% of their writing score, which comes out to quite a significant portion of your overall TOEFL score, right? Like one little paragraph is, I mean, I can't do math, but I think that's a big chunk of your overall score. Like, how do the people you've talked about feel about that, if they have any opinions?
It may be like a Korean thing, like, Asians are not that welcoming to change, I guess. Their culture, I guess. But anyhow, no one liked it.
Nobody liked that.
No one liked that. I was saying to people like, dude, this will make your essay easier because, you guys go off topic all the time. 60% of people I see just go off topic, even just a little bit.
Yeah.
And 20% just go completely off. So this will be easier for you guys, and no one still liked it.
No, they want that independent essay. Like, I get it, right? That really gives you an opportunity to show off what you know, right? Like, to me,
I didn't like the independent essay.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess for me, like, I mean, I'm not like a test taker per se, but like if I was, really trying to show off my language skills and distinguish myself from other people, I would like the opportunity to have 400 words to do that and to really show whoever that, yeah, I am like really good. I have this whole 30-minute 400-word essay. I can do more than I can in like a 10-minute like 100-word essay.
I think like because like a lot of people were just memorizing templates, like 400 500-word templates, maybe the ET to prevent that from happening and implement this kind of new test. I'm okay with that. And since you can still show off whatever you want to do within the time limit, I'm pretty sure anyone can still write down whatever they want. For example, like I was able to write over like 240 or whatever words.
That's
I can
wild.
over than 300 probably, but whatever, right?
Now here's something, like, I don't want to like scare anyone. Have you tried using the AI on the ETS website and using more than 200 words? I think
they just don't grade you. And I think it's because like they don't want to pay for it.
I think they give you like a 0. It's not that they don't grade you; they specifically give you a 0. Now, that's not going to happen on the real test. I think
Right, right, right.
that would be
I,
like
I think it's
wild.
because of server costs, because like GPT, like OpenAI also like, you know, every single day they lose like $1 million because of the server fees. And
Mhm.
I think the ETS AI was, of course they use little resources probably, but they want
Yeah.
to keep the cost down for people who just cram in stuff, like turns overdose everything and test its limits like 10,000 words or whatever. So just
Okay.
put a limit, screw everything else, maybe.
Yeah. I wonder. It would be nice, like if you could do more longer essays. But yeah, that was like one of the first things I noticed. Like, oh yeah, you
Mm.
can't. And so we'll see. And I hope that on your test, that by entering a long one, you didn't trigger like a manual review. You know what I mean? Like in some cases, like for the speaking and the writing, in some cases, whatever, the AI can't score it. And that's documented by ETS. And in those cases, it's scored only by the human.
Well,
So
two
I
humans.
hope yeah, but so I guess they would bring in the extra human for that case. So I hope in your case, it didn't create like a no AI situation, but
I'm not
I
sure.
guess we'll never know.
Yeah.
Um,
But
I don't,
I checked the rubric for the AI sheet,
oh yeah.
and on the website it says it doesn't say anything about like writing too much, like
Mhm.
when you first check the rubrics.
Mhm.
But after you get the score and check the rubrics, there's like you put too much words there limit,
Okay.
so it changes the rubric kind of that they add just one little line there.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, before you can check it again. Like it doesn't
Oh,
say anything about writing too many stuff, too many words.
oh, interesting. Okay, I'll check that out myself. I'm curious now, very curious. Okay. Huh. Now, have you used the new TOEFL Go implementation on the ETS website?
No.
Okay, I'll send you the link to that. Maybe you haven't even seen it now, but we'll talk about that another day.
Okay.
Nothing I really wanted to ask you with the listening section because that's basically the same,
Oh,
or
this
maybe.
is freaking hard. Like, oh my
Oh,
God, hard.
it
Like,
was
I
hard.
mean, again, it could be because again I was tired, right? It could
Okay,
be
but
because
you are like one of the best at doing the TOEFL that I know, right? I mean, you've taken it
I
how many times now?
don't know, like probably 30, 35, I don't know.
30, 35 times. And what are your top scores?
120s.
Okay, so you've
I
achieved
took it
perfect
17
TOEFL
times when I was
scores.
a kid. Like when I was like, I had no idea what the test was. I just
Uh-huh.
took it. My parents forced me to do it when I was a little kid. There
We
you
can
go.
talk about that in a moment as well. So,
Oh,
but what I'm
really?
saying is you've taken the test many, many times and you have gotten perfect scores
Right.
several times, many times.
Yep.
So you do know what you're talking about. And you're saying that you found the listening section quite difficult?
And even for me, it was hard. Like I was like, wow, that's hard. So
What made it hard? This is all like
conversation,
totally
like
new to me, so I'm kind of bowled
it
over
wasn't like the
actually.
normal conversation like between the student and the professor. Like of course
Hmm.
they have like crazy conversation. Like sometimes they talk about party planners or whatever, right?
Hmm.
But in this case, it was I don't know. So some of them was just weird. Like for example, like the one I saw.
Don't go into too
Oh,
many specific
yeah.
details, or ETS will send their lawyers out here.
Okay.
But you can speak broadly, maybe.
For example, the main idea questions are always difficult. Like
Hmm.
I always find the main idea questions quite difficult, even though I understand everything.
Hmm.
And I was just really vague, like hard to choose. So some of
Interesting.
few of the listening questions were actually very difficult to choose from. So I was actually kind of worried that I might get like 28 or worst case.
Hmm.
Thankfully it was a 33, but I
Okay.
was like, Jesus Christ, like they're really overdoing this.
Interesting. That's
Oh,
something we're gonna have to really track moving forward because I'm shocked that you would say that because I assumed not only is it the same difficulty level, I assumed it's just recycled content from like a year ago. You know what I mean?
as
Like
a
I
speaking, one of the speaking questions was recycled. For example,
okay.
I searched it up like just in case, and there was this
Yeah.
Chinese site saying, "Oh, this topic was mentioned."
Okay.
But for
Okay.
some reason, the speaking session felt longer than usual. I don't know, sure why.
Hmm.
The integrated speaking questions were, I don't know, like 20 to 30% longer than
Hmm.
what I usually am used to.
Okay.
So maybe it's because again, like the issue I faced while taking the test, but that's what I felt like. But that's what it
Okay.
felt.
Okay. That's interesting. I don't even know what to say about that observation that the test did feel quite challenging and quite difficult. Now, you did mention you did get a perfect score on those again, so I mean we'll take this with a
Could
grain of
change.
salt. Hmm?
Right? It could change. Who knows? Maybe it might
It
go
could.
down. Hmm.
Oh yeah, well, that's really interesting. And I mean, I wish I could see what the raw to scaled conversion was, because maybe indeed you got some of the questions wrong.
Hmm,
I'm very
probably.
curious about that. Now, also on the topic of the listening section, does it still use real human voices, or does it use like AI text to speech voices?
Real human versus same old person.
And the guy who like introduces the questions is the same like old man voice.
Right.
Fantastic.
Just
I
the
hope
old
that
man voice.
guy. Yeah, I mean, I think they've been using that voice since like 2005. So
Hmm.
I would love to meet that man and shake his hand. He probably doesn't even know like what his legacy is
Okay.
in the standardized testing industry. But yeah, that man's been heard by, more people than almost, any voice in the world, probably
Oh,
millions
that voice
every
is the
year.
same for other tests?
No, I
I
mean
thought,
he's just been doing the TOEFL voice,
oh,
seemingly since like 2005. I mean, so that's like 20, 30, 40 million people having heard his voice. That's quite a legacy. Um,
wow.
yeah, so I'm glad because there is a movement in some of standardized testing to use like AI voices to save money, I presume. So I'm really glad that they're still using humans recording their voices in a sound booth throughout the test. That's fantastic.
Right.
That's really nice. Now, there's no break.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I did not know
there used to
that.
be a 10-minute break. Oh, you did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't read the instructions, I guess.
Okay.
Um,
Does that make the test a little more difficult?
I was expecting a toilet break, but
No.
there wasn't one, so I kind of had some technical issues, I guess,
Okay.
especially with the proctor.
Okay. So I guess I'll remind the people watching this video, there's no break. You're going 2 hours without a break. Plus, there's going to be some setup time at the beginning. So you're
Right.
probably planning like 220, maybe 2.5 with no break. Plan accordingly. Use the
Oh,
bathroom. Have a
also
snack.
my students always say like because of technical issues, it takes like 1 hour or so to set the whole thing up. Like sometimes like
Yeah.
2 hours. Get that a
Yeah.
lot. Never had to happen to
Yeah.
me though.
It
Yeah.
does. I
So
mean, I get, as you know, I have a blog and I get these emails every week. Yeah, it can take a while to set up. And so, especially now without the break, be prepared for a long setup period. And the advice I always give is put a note on your door and saying, you might think this test is done in 2 hours. It might be 3 hours. It might be 4 hours. Do not open this door, mom. Because
mm,
often test takers' mothers open the door and the test is still going on, and then the test is canceled. So
right.
be prepared for a long setup process with, a bathroom break beforehand, a snack, and a sign on your door. I guess that brings us to the question, how was the home edition experience, my friend?
Worst ever.
Uh,
Horrendous. Like,
okay.
oh my
You're not the
God.
only one. Let's take it from the top. What happened first that was not so good?
I mean, like I took the home test only like 2 times, including today,
Okay. You're a
because I didn't
test
like the
center
whole,
fan. Yeah.
yeah, I don't like the whole idea. But anyhow, so the previous guy, like I had issues with, I was borrowing my computer, I mean my friend's computer.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
They
don't do
said I
that.
could use my Surface Pro
Yeah,
because it's a
don't do that
tablet.
either.
Just me. So, and it had Discord. It's just ringing all the time.
Oh, you had Discord. Yeah, guys, like I know, like Discord, uninstall it. I
Okay.
don't just turn it off. Uninstall Discord. And I
Yeah.
know it's important for like your video game things, but you have to totally uninstall. I think Discord might be the cause of a lot of cancellations.
But
Discord specifically. Go on.
but I didn't know the sound was from Discord because I don't use it.
Oh, there was sound.
Yeah, there was a constant
Oh,
beeping and ringing
oh
and blah
God.
blah blah. Like, I thought that
Discord was running during your test?
yes, on the first
Oh,
time,
oh
not
God.
this time.
Oh, the
Okay.
first time. Okay.
Yeah. So like I was like, "Hello, Mr. Proctor, are you texting me or something?" And I asked him just questions and just silence. I was like,
Mhm.
"Okay, whatever." And it was, again a beeping sound. Like, "Okay, whatever."
Okay.
And I after the test I realized it was Discord. I was like, "Oh shit, I got canceled," but it didn't get canceled. Interesting.
Okay. That was early in the home edition experience, I guess.
I think it was last year.
Oh, it was last year. Okay, I'm glad that wasn't canceled. Okay, so that was. But what about this experience on the new one? Let's
So at
talk
least
about
the
that.
other guy I could still talk to and he would respond but for this guy, no response. Like he said,
Hmm.
said like wave my hands in the air or something. Like if I
Hmm.
need help, I just
Hmm.
talk to him. Nothing happened.
Hmm.
Like, hey, I need my bathroom break, and just wailing and saying the F word sometimes, like to myself, not to him. Anyhow, that's how people become when you're urgent,
Okay.
and nothing. And then
Okay.
like he did write on the screen like in really weird red, like with his mouse, like
Oh, that's a new
near
thing. Yeah, now they write on the screen instead of using the chat box. Yeah.
really. And he said check chat in a weird way. So I was like, what is it? I can use Alt Tab or Command Tab or whatever for Mac users. So
Hmm.
while I was doing that, the test were just was just going on to the next session by
Hmm.
itself. And this guy never gave me any kind of break, no pause.
Hmm.
If I were him, I would definitely say, okay, what is it? And just pause the test for a while. At
Hmm.
least a few seconds, right?
Hmm.
No, nothing.
Okay.
So I was on the verge of wetting my pants. Okay. And yeah, I had to go through that while doing the listening test.
Okay.
And I would really want to turn off my AC because I was just freezing.
Hmm.
And I couldn't do that because they might say I'm cheating or something. So I was on the verge of freezing to death, on the verge of, wetting myself
Hmm.
and super sleepy. Still, I managed to get like the score I wanted. But if it was like a normal test taker in that condition, I don't think anyone would have made it. Like, it was a disaster. Okay.
Okay.
And then
So
it's for the speaking session. Like again, he was typing on the screen, he was drawing the screen. The speaking session just moves on to number one. I'm like, what? And then I like 6 seconds or so to read the question and just do it.
okay. All right.
And yeah.
How was the? I mean, how was the process of like connecting and starting? When was that? Was there anything about that that's worth mentioning? You able to connect okay and start okay?
It was smooth. Maybe it's because it's
Okay.
in Korea.
Okay.
Internet is fine here. So
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I mean, it sounds like the main issue was that it's hard to get the proctor's attention sometimes.
right.
Okay. That's yeah. That's unfortunate because I mean, as far as the break goes, I mean, you're not getting a break. I mean, I'm sure probably you should have known that, but it's
My bad.
unfortunate that it's hard to get the proctor's attention because I mean they're supposed to respond to you pretty quickly, at least when you wave your
Right.
hands or use the chat.
Yes.
I guess that's about all I have to ask about questions regarding the new and enhanced TOEFL. But is there any other kind of points that you wanted to share before we kind of move on to like a more general discussion, which I'm very interested in as well?
I think I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I mean, it's it sounds like you had a pretty interesting experience there, but we'll we'll see how like it kind of goes moving forward. And I'm going to be taking the test myself in the near future. Now, do you have a few more minutes to stick around? Because I know you're teaching in Korea. You've been doing TOEFL prep for quite a while, and I do have a bunch of questions I want to ask about that because I find it very fascinating.
Sure. Shoot.
Okay, so um I don't know if you ever check out like the annual score like data reports that ETS
Oh,
publishes, but
I do. Yeah.
one thing I've noticed, and I guess you have as well, is that
Am I up?
the score in Korea has like skyrocketed over the past. I mean, I guess it's kind of, over the past like 15 years or so, whenever the test was introduced, the score has gone
Mm.
up a lot, like more than I think any other country.
Oh,
Although it's
really?
true, it
Yeah.
has kind of leveled off in the last few years. Maybe it has reached a peak, but the increase in the average score is massive.
Is it number one? Like among all the countries?
No, oh no, it's not number one among all the countries. I mean, the European countries have always
I mean, not
dominated.
the score, but I'm saying the increase
The
in.
increase, probably, yeah, I would say. I mean, I may be wrong, but yeah, I think it's probably like within the top five at least.
Probably.
So the question is, what's the secret? Like, why are
Oh,
the scores going up in Korea so much?
yeah.
Explain this to me, please.
Oh, so I'm pretty sure you know, but there's a thing called a hagwon in Korea. That it's like
Mm-hmm.
a private test prep center,
Mm-hmm.
and the Koreans pay a lot of money to get private education for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's probably a culture. They just want to, you know, um, be one step ahead of everyone in life, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Since like Korea has no natural resources, no nothing, like studying is like one of the only ways to succeed. So there's this massive competition and pressure for good grades. And since a lot of maybe this is also a reason, but besides for going to the US to study abroad, like you just need like 100 or maybe 110 for a good school, right? But in Korea, like the top schools require 117 or higher.
Now,
Like,
if I can interrupt, you're saying this is to get into a domestic Korean school.
yes.
Right. Okay. So you're asking for a TOEFL score to get in, not to an American school or a British school, but into a Korean school. And the requirement is like 117.
Yes. So it used to be, there were many schools like that before, but now that kind of admission process is now almost gone. There's like only like one school left for universities, accept 116 plus TOEFL scores. And this is called Ewha Women's University. But anyhow, and for transfer students, like if you want to transfer to a different school, I'm not sure if it changed, but it did pay to have like a really good TOEFL score. Like 17 and higher will almost guarantee you like a good spot. Not sure now either. And also like for a lot of medical schools, and I'm not sure it should be translated to English, but like training medical schools or training dentistry schools. I'm not sure what they're called, but there's this different type of system where after graduation you can go to another medical school or a dentist school.
Like a specialized school.
Right.
To work on a
But
specialty.
like only geniuses go there, but you need like 117, 118 for that. Like, Jesus Christ. I don't know why they want so much from doctors. They're already geniuses and they have to be good at English. Are you kidding me? But people still do it.
I guess it's, yeah, I mean, I guess it just makes it more selective. Okay, so but I understand the desire and the need, but what are the students doing right and what are the teachers doing right in order to get these scores? Like what's the magic here?
They're just diligent, I guess. Like I mentioned before, that's the only way out of whatever situation they're in. And for teachers, from Hagwons, I guess, like again the prep centers, they give you like templates to memorize for the writing session and even for the speaking session. So you just basically memorize like 20 different essays or something, like 12 to 20 essays, and you just cram in whatever works in that given topic somehow. And then writing it comes out okay, I guess. It doesn't score a perfect score, but good enough score is acceptable. And for the speaking, again, same happens, but again, their intonation and accent and so on does create a barrier, but that kind of works as well. And Koreans are generally good at reading, I think. So because they have to take a Korean SAT, which is almost as hard as a TOEFL, like at least it used to be for the reading part, but their listening is terrible. So if they work on that, then yeah, they can usually get a score of above 80, like with ease.
Okay. So you're saying for the speaking and the writing, there's still sort of a heavy use of templates.
Yes.
I recall an article published by a professor at Nagoya University in Japan who studied the phenomenon of template usage in Korean Hagwons. And this was published in a scholarly article or scholarly journal, which I found fascinating. So that's still a big thing. Maybe the new writing task will kind of change that, but probably not. I guess it'll just lead to different templates.
Right.
And that's for speaking. Now, are there special techniques that the students are using to study for the reading and the listening section?
There are like some stuff they say for advertising. I'm not a big fan of it. They do use the word like what's the word, like for templates they say magic template or some magic keywords or so. Signal words, magic signal words. It's big marketing.
For the reading.
For the listening.
Oh, for the listening. Okay.
And they're saying like you can listen to everything just by listening to these words only. Like, marketing. It makes no sense to me, but people fall for it. But yeah, maybe if you get like 1 or 2 questions right because of it, then good for you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess something's working because those, as I said, the Korean TOEFL scores are just going up, and up. Now, the other question would be then, like, how many hours is like somebody putting in to study for the TOEFL? I mean, I'm sure everyone's different, but would you think there's like an average number of hours that your typical TOEFL test taker is putting into the study process?
It really depends. I mean, like I've met like people from all age groups. Like it's a really interesting experience. Like from little not children, but like elementary school kids to middle schoolers, high schoolers, college students, and people like judges, like scientists, even a professor as well. I mean, so I bet there's all these different people, and it really depends on the situation they're in. Yeah, some people just have like 1 or 2 hours like per day to study for it after work. Like they somehow make it work, like spending up the whole night or somehow just doing the test, taking the test.
Just
I mean,
before the test.
studying for the test, and even like, using their lunchtime at their workplace, and like studying kind of like without your superiors knowing.
Okay. Oh, secretly studying. So, but what you're saying then is that they are putting in a lot of time to study, even if they have a limited amount of free time. They are studying a lot.
Very determined. Koreans are always determined to get stuff done, I guess.
Okay. Because that's kind of like, I mean, I think that to me, that might be a big part of the reason the scores are going up is that the test takers are studying a ton. Because I mean, I get a lot of emails from people from around the world, and they're like, I've got the test this weekend. I just started studying. Any tips? And it's like, oh, you've got a few hours total. Like maybe if you put in 100 hours, you'd get a really high score.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people, especially from international schools, have no idea of the difficulty of the test. So for some reason, I don't know why this is a very rampant phenomenon, but international school kids in general, not always, like some of them are really good, it's crazy good, but in general, like I don't know, 80 to 90% of them have issues with their reading. It's like terrible.
Okay.
It's like abysmal. I don't understand.
Interesting. Okay. And so
they never vocab, first of all.
Okay.
And well, if they study for the SAT, they're good. Okay, they're okay. They never study for the SAT, and even for people living abroad. Okay, like they've been living abroad for like I don't know, like 10 years or so, but the reading is like 14 or something. Like so what?
Okay.
I don't understand.
Okay.
But yeah, this is quite common, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like if you don't put in if you're not putting in the amount of time that the top test performers put in, you're not going to get that top score.
I mean, the speaking is actually pretty good in most cases. Like some of them are not bad. At least a 23 to 26.
Okay.
But the reading is always like 14 to 16. Like
interesting. Yeah.
Like,
so I mean,
like 22. Like I think on reading, even though if they're really bad.
Yeah. Now, can that 14, 15, 16 reading score, I mean, can that be improved with effort, or are they okay? So if they put in the effort, they're improving that.
Right. But for some reason, it doesn't go above 26 that often. Like I personally consider like 26, 27 to be like the minimum score you should be getting for reading and listening, because like that's like the top 34 to like 40% range. It's a doable range, right?
Yeah, I think so. Depending on the applicant, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's a area of like where you can just study for, like you still get, but it apparently doesn't seem to be the case. Like 27 on speaking is pretty hard. Like it's top 10%. Like, again, like for people like whose intonation or fluency or accent is bad, I don't think that's even a possible score, even if they put in like an year worth of effort sometimes. But for reading listening, they should be getting the scores.
Okay. So how do people then in Korea, what's the favored approach? Because it seems to me like a lot of people outside of Korea really have no idea about how TOEFL preparation goes in Korea, because a lot of it seems to be sort of like done domestically. They're not reaching out to like Preply or the other kind of big like tutoring sites that are American based. They're kind of doing it domestically. Is the approach to take like classes at like hagwons, as you said, like or tutoring centers, is the approach to get like one-on-one tutors, or is there still a lot of self-study, or would you say there's all of those?
Yeah, probably all of them.
Okay.
But since it's a language test, like for reading listening, they can do it by themselves, a lot of them. But speaking, writing, I think is a different story, and that's why I think they find help.
So they're doing both like the group kind of classes at the tutoring centers plus the one-on-one.
One-on-one is only for people who can afford it, I think. Like it is pretty pricey in Korea, so yeah. Maybe it's I actually did it with a Filipino when I was kids, so that's more affordable. That's
Okay. Okay.
but you have to switch the teacher quite often because like they're like slackers and very determined people. So just test the waters,
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah. Now, I guess you kind of proved me wrong a little bit because, like, my impression was that, yeah, most of the Korean people are doing TOEFL tutoring with Korean tutors, Korean schools, Korean
Oh yeah,
companies,
yeah, that
Korean
is.
books.
Oh yeah, that is the case.
That's the case. Yeah. That's actually, I think that's great. It kind of, I don't know, it's kind of good for the economy. It keeps all that money kind of within the country, which is probably really great.
For some reason, like the Korean books are better in quality than the other American
Yeah.
books. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but the American books are just terrible. Like I don't understand. What are they
Well,
doing?
I can tell you because I have
Yeah.
written some of the Korean books. The Korean companies have large staffs. So they'll have like, Hackers, which is a company that I know, and none of the viewers will know, but it's probably one of the biggest publishers of test preparation books in Korea. I mean, they'll have like 50 or 100 different people at one point contributing to a TOEFL book. They have these whole offices full of people. They have people writing questions, editing questions, revising questions, taking the test, coming back and reporting their experiences. So it's a big staff. There's just thousands of what we call like man hours going into these books. And so
So these
that's they
people are like almost all Native American. I mean, native speakers.
no, oh no, 99% would be Korean people working on them.
But some people who are really good at English.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And then there's people like myself who were employed by these companies as well to sort of to revise and edit and do that sort of thing as well. And that's why the Korean books are good. And one of the things I noticed in Korea, I went to one of, you know what I mean by those little like mom and pop stationery stores that you see like on the corner. They sell like little notebooks and pens to the children. And then they maybe sell lottery tickets and cigarettes to the adults. And the whole store is maybe like as big as my office. It's kind of going out of style in Korea, but they're still around. You go into even those little stores and they have a selection of good TOEIC and TOEFL books. It's just, it really kind of speaks to the quality and the accessibility of materials in Korea. And I guess even like the desire to do well on these standardized tests. Like it's just the most kind of like basic little stationery store just tucked away in the middle of nowhere in like, some local neighborhood in Korea down by the traditional market. And yeah, you can get like the best TOEFL book in the world is available right there on that shelf. That's pretty cool.
I had no idea. I saw TOEIC books a lot, but I didn't know TOEFL books were there.
Yeah, I mean, last time I was there, I took a little picture. I'll have to show you. So I'll wrap this up just in a couple of minutes. Thank you for having such a long chat. There was an article back when the TOEFL IBT launched, 2005, when we were both pretty young. I think it said that Korea was like the #2 market for the TOEFL. Like that was like the #2 country for TOEFL test takers behind China. That's no longer the case. India's much bigger at this point, and probably even other countries are bigger too. Is the TOEFL still like pretty popular though in Korea?
I think it's falling out of favor a lot.
Oh,
like
tell
before,
me more.
like I heard like I wasn't I guess I was one of those kids as well, but like at the time there's a place called Daechido, and that's where all the hagwons are, and just people just go there for test prep and studying or whatever. Like, they pay a fortune for all these high quality classes, and there was this TOEFL boom where like even people who didn't need TOEFL, like all these little kids like from like, I don't know, 5th graders or middle schoolers, whatever, just go there to learn stuff.
I've taught middle school TOEFL.
Yeah. Okay. I heard that was a thing there. I'm not sure if that was in my generation, but yeah. So I do think this is a very well-made test. It does help you with your fluency and everything else, like comprehension. But for some reason, it's falling out of favor, and just people are just focusing on other things, I guess. I think it has to do with admissions. The admissions changed, and you don't need like a super high English score these days for Korean universities. Like not TOEFL, but for the Korean SAT, you just need like everything is now not great on a curve, but absolute scale. So English doesn't matter, I guess, these days that much.
Okay. Now, also, I guess the reason for the new TOEFL being introduced like, ETS might deny it, but part of it is to get back some of the market share from other tests, particularly Duolingo English test and the Pearson test of English, which have both grown in popularity by massive amounts. Do you think that test takers in Korea are reaching for those tests instead of the TOEFL, if they're going abroad?
I mean,
or
if they
are they kind of sticking with the TOEFL?
If other universities actually accept those stuff, I haven't taken PET yet. PT, is it called?
The DET, or the Duolingo English test.
No,
I
not
really prefer the
PET.
long version, or the PTE.
PTE, right? I haven't taken that. But Duolingo, I am very skeptical about the claims they make on the validity of the test. Like, it could be because I took the freebie test, which is just absolutely just wow. Like, that has a wow factor. Like, is this serious? Are they serious about this? But if the university is accepted, why not? It's easy, it's cheaper, it's shorter. Like, school TOEFL, right? They get in. I guess they will have a much more, harder time trying to adjust to university life because it's going to be quite challenging.
No, but have the students you've talked to, I mean, have you talked to many in Korea that have actually taken the test?
Yes, not a lot, but I recommend myself. I say just take the Duolingo test. The TOEFL is way too much hard. Just take it. Go to whatever school you want. I
so
say
okay, that sounds about right. So I mean, it is growing in popularity, because I ask because to me, that's the whole point of the shorter test, is to sort of maybe take back some of that market share. So I guess it's relevant here in Korea as well.
Okay. I don't know if they want to take the market share, but I think they should just cut down on the price. I think that's the biggest deal, in my opinion.
Yeah, and frankly, and you say that, and Korea is actually one of the countries where the TOEFL is a bit cheaper.
Yes.
Other countries are more than $300 or $400, and so in Korea it's 220.
Crazy.
Yeah, pretty high. Okay, so I guess we will leave it at that. But thank you very, very much for taking the time to share your experience taking the new TOEFL and your thoughts. That certainly gives me a lot to contemplate. And I'm excited to hear if any of the people watching this video have had similar sort of thoughts and experiences with the test. Leave a question or a comment down below, and one of us, I'm sure, will answer your question eventually.
Okay, cool. Thanks for having me, Michael. I hope the interview wasn't too long.
Nah, thanks for chatting. We'll do this again real soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, cool. Bye.